Hey guys, welcome to another video on the Inside Spurs channel. Happy Sunday evening. Hope everyone's all right. Hope everyone is okay. And they had a good day and a good weekend. Obviously, Spurs losing today at home to Brighton. So we'll talk about the game itself as well. We'll also be talking about a little bit about the season as a whole, kind of just having a bit of a reflection moment. You'll be happy to know that this reflection isn't an emotionally driven one. This is going to come with a conversation. It's going to come with some logic. It's going to come with some maturity. Okay. You'll see what I mean when I get to it. Obviously, I think you're going to see a lot of people today go too far one way and too far the other. Okay. And you'll then get people that will completely forget and not remember Wednesday night. You're going to get fans who have been fans for a few years and think, the manager, needs to bring someone else in that's going to win something, it's going to do something more regularly. And, it's not a dig against them, by the way, but having been a fan for nearly 30 years, that comes with a lot of stubbornness towards things. It comes with, mental toughness towards things. So we'll have that conversation, but we'll get to that in a minute. Let's talk about the game today. Obviously, a game today, I think that, for the most part, I don't think anyone expected us to win, if I'm honest. I was at the parade. I saw way too many of those guys hammered or about to be hammered, if I'm honest, in terms of being drunk. I was surprised to see as many players start as they did. But, I never expected in this game. I was quite steadfast with the whole, we're going to lose 2-1. And I was doing all right for that first part. I was like, well, we scored. We're doing all right. And then, look, obviously, the result ends up being 4-1. No, we didn't play well. I'm not gonna deny we didn't play well, but you've got players on a 3-day bender enjoying themselves and enjoying, living it up and enjoying the fact that they are European champions. And look, I'm going to be real with you. I'm not as bothered about today. I'm just not. Okay. I'm not bothered about today because at the end of the day, guys, who the hell thought we were going to win today? Who the hell thought we were going to win today? Yeah, it was a good performance. I think there was obviously some good stuff to come out of it, but for the most part, it wasn't a great performance. What I would say is, having as many players out as well, it's not going to help. I get it. But for the most part, it happens the way it works. But also, look, you're European champions. You've done something for the first time in 4 decades. You've won a trophy for the first time in 17 years. I just let that one settle. We've all heard it. I don't need to say. I'm not saying anything there that's brand new or shocking to someone, but we've done something that we haven't done in nearly 2 decades. We did something that we haven't done for 4 decades. It gave me the best night of my life as a Spurs fan. It's probably given me the best night of my life, maybe ever, as a Spurs fan. You never know. It's been 41 years. This is what a European trophy. There's people in their 40s who've only just come across Spurs winning a European trophy. So today wasn't great. No. I woke up just after watching the Monaco F1 Grand Prix. I fell asleep through that. I missed nothing. I'm glad I fell asleep through it. Gutted for Leyton Orient today, obviously losing to Charlton in the League One. I was watching that for a bit for Donnelly and for Keeley. Gutted for them. But look, we look at this season. We look at the work that needs to be done this summer. This summer requires a lot of work. There is obviously conversations surrounding players going out of contract. There's conversations around players on options to buy, like Tell, obviously. There's conversations surrounding first teamers that may move on. There's conversations around players coming in as well. So I think there's a lot to sort of be had there. I think obviously today in the stadium is extremely telling. Even being 4-1 down, the fans were, obviously celebrating these players and this manager who, look, I don't care if you're Ange out or Ange in, players out or players in. These players all deserve to be held in such high esteem after Wednesday. Okay, you can think the league situation wasn't great. I'm not going to deny that. But Can you tell me a player in the last, I don't know, 3 decades that's won a European trophy? 4 decades, actually. Sorry, that's won a European trophy. No, you haven't. You can't. It's factually impossible to tell me something like that. So these players deserve a lot of credit for that, and the manager as well. Again, you can be Ange out. You can be Ange in. You can be Ange out. You can be Ange here, there, and everywhere. He's won a European trophy. He's won a trophy, and I sort of said something, which is this. This might sound really outlandish, but hear me out. You're going to get a conversation in 30 or 40 years, and they're going to go, "Well, you're in the Europa League trophy in the year 2025." You go, "Yeah, what a day that was in Bilbao. Not a very good game of football, but beating Man United." And you go, "Wow, it's amazing." God, do you remember who the manager was? Oh yeah, it was Big Ange. Oh, amazing. So he didn't win anything with Conte and Mourinho and Poch and Nuno and all. No, we didn't win anything with them. Oh, okay. So what was Ange like? And you move straight on. Unfortunately, that's the way it's going to be because you know what? As all managers have said, it's about winning things. It is about winning things. It's about trophies, and that's what it is about as a fan. You want to win things. So yeah, if you're one of those people that wants to finish fifth this season for Champions League football, have at it. Have at it. You're more than welcome to. You're more than welcome to. I genuinely, I called it the backdoor entrance through the Europa League, but trust me, if every season from now on we finish 17th and winning the Champions League every single year, I will take that every single year. Absolutely no issues. What that Wednesday night did for me, I could never put into words what that Wednesday night did for me. Like, I'm sorry, Poch never gave me that sort of feeling. Mourinho, Conte, none of them have given me that feeling ever, you know. And I think those fans in the stadium, the fan goings of the people watching the games, they all think the same. And so, look, it's a hell of a thing, but you know that's why we always talk about context. There's obviously things that haven't been great this season. Absolutely. People always go, "Oh, who should play in the Europa League?" Okay, fair enough. Played an absolute machine in Frankfurt, who are a very, very good German side. You know, Bayern somewhat struggle with them, things like that. So I didn't go to sixth side, mate. I ended up having to watch the football instead, and then go live. But yeah, no, in terms of listening to the fans there in the game today, you can tell even losing, they are 100% behind Ange. So yeah, I am backing Ange still. Yeah, he'll be here next season. I mean, the way I look at it, and I know some people, obviously people are going to be massively overreacting to the game today, and I can already tell they are online. Actually, Twitter's not bad today. Twitter hasn't actually been that bad. I think people have sort of just gone, well, I didn't expect to win. The player's been on a 3-day bender. You got players out injured. What did you expect? Which is quite interesting. Twitter having level-headed conversations today, which was quite nice. But the context is everything to this season. The sheer volume of injuries, the sheer suspensions go alongside that, all those things. And, it is very interesting to have heard from Ange and having heard from other people to say that, there was a change in motto. There was a change in process that instead of, going gung-ho for the Premier League and trying to finish, eighth, they instead obviously went a different way and just went, look, we're going to go for it in the Europa League and see what happens. And, next season, Champions League football back at Spurs, it's, where we obviously belong to be. There's going to be no conversation surrounding Aston Villa in Champions League. I know that. But it is what it is. I'm having some fruit squash. I normally only have one after we win a game, but after a season, I'm allowed to have one. And to be honest, I didn't have one after the Europa League, so I'm allowing myself to have one on a stream. And if you don't like it, cry. But going into next season, I think it's fascinating on the idea surrounding, if it's Ange, for example, that will be here, having learned from mistakes early on in the season, using the squad in a way that is going to allow you players to stay fresh and fit. Okay. Which I think he's been honest about that he mucked up and he's learned from it. I think the club would as a whole would have learned from it. The medical team, I pray that Spurs just get like an average medical team now. That would make a huge difference. We'd have a hell of a lot less injuries. Players would come back fit. That would be nice as well. Um, but I think learning from that, I think the idea now is, you see Spence, you see Bergval and Gray, and you see developments in those sort of players. It does give you that idea of the squad is a lot fuller than it was at the start of last season. There's a lot of work to be done this summer. We'll come to that in a minute. Obviously, I did a video earlier. We were talking about it earlier. Last couple of days, we did some couple of really good interactive videos surrounding sort of ins and outs and things like that. So if you missed it, go and check it out. But learning from this season, if we obviously don't know who's staying and who's going, and that's across all facets of the club. So we're talking hypothetically here. If Ange was to be staying, learning from that, saying, Desi Adol isn't going to play 3 times a week. And, we're going to try and get Pedro Porro some more rest. And, Mickey Romero, we're going to try and get some more rest. Big Kev Danso, he seems to be decent, but, he's not had an easy season with all the chops and changes and 8 and 9 players rotated and 12 players out injured and things like that. He's struggled at times, and I feel for him. I think there's a player there though, so I'm happy about that still. You'd expect Davies to probably be moving on this summer. I would expect having to obviously bolster the centre back room. Radu being healthy obviously would have helped as well. Obviously, I get that. Obviously, you're moving off of Regulon. We know that. So you're going to be bringing in a left back who is someone that you're going to be using. Again, that's going to help massively. The midfield, obviously, with Gray and Bergval, we don't know what's going to happen with Biss, but, those 2 guys, I think, have shown to be competent, at least, if not good, especially in Bergval's case. I think Arch will just need a bit more time with Archie to give him some time actually in midfield. Again, feel from this season with obviously playing left back, playing right back, playing centre back. And, you still get people going, oh, Ange should have played him in the midfield. It's like, cool, right, let's play the 14-year-old centre back at centre back then. Let's go from there. But, you look at the rest of that midfield with Madders and Kulu. Kulu obviously had a better season this year. I think Madders had a strong season. I think Bentancur post-international breaks looked really solid. But again, there's obviously a conversation to have, about that. You obviously look at going into the front 3. There's obviously question mark over buying Tell permanently. Richie might be out the door. There's a lot of question marks over the rest of that attack. So look, I think going into next season, there will be changes regardless of Ange in terms of the way we try and recruit. Because, I think, people obviously try and put a lot of things onto singular people, but obviously a lot of people have a hand in things. It's not always down to one person. And I think, looking at the higher ups, you buy Solanke and you buy a bunch of teenagers, not really giving Ange the support he truly needs. The irony to that is 2 of them turned out to look like they're going to be really, really good footballers and they're going to really help. Mikey getting the minutes that he got this year, that's going to help going forwards. And obviously he's still very, very young, It is mental, the ability that he has at the age that he is. It's just ridiculous. And so that there's some excitement there. But this summer, there needs to be ready to go guys added into this squad. I think about, centre back, and they're going to look at Vuskovic. I mean, he may be here in this next season. Obviously, I think he'll get preseason. He may be loaned out. You never know on that side of things. Obviously, left back, you want to add into left back. Obviously, if you see Spence as left back, then like I said, you've always said you then got to add in at right back. You know what I mean? So one of those 2 areas you've got to add into. The midfield, you've got to add into the midfield. Biss might be gone. Well, we'll see on that side of things. I know there's talk about Cardoso. I'm going to be watching Betis against Chelsea. I believe it's Wednesday they play. I'll be checking that game out in a bit more detail to watch him against, a Premier League side. Chelsea's midfield can be quite physical as well. So I want to see how he might handle some of the physicality they give as well. But in the attack, obviously, look, Werner will be off and out the door. Richie could be out the door as well. Son, supposedly there might be an opportunity there for a reduced role. Not to say that he's, a lesser player, but a reduced role in terms of, hey, let's maybe not play him 3 times a week. And again, that sounds great and all, but you do at the same time have to keep players fit to allow him to do that. If you can't, then guess what? He's playing 3 times a week, and I think this season has shown that Son has played through pain barriers and, he's suffered for it. It'd be good if we could, not run him into the ground. And, as fans, obviously, we look at, a lot of times where, oh, this guy's fit. He's not injured, play him. And I think we fell into the trap ourselves, even as fans. Obviously, we fall into the trap of, I love this guy. He needs to play every single game and every single week. And it just isn't beneficial. It sounds great on paper, obviously, but it's just not beneficial. So, you know what I mean on that side of things. But, obviously there is a conversation that, if you were to move off of Ange, okay, let's talk about hypothetical there. If you're bringing in a new manager, by the way, I think Levy would massively alienate a lot of the fan base by removing Ange, by the way. He's already alienated a lot of the fan base. If you want to unite the majority of the fan base, you're going the right way about it doing that. But if you are to move him on, your summer in terms of activity will be much slower because if you're bringing in a new manager, he wants to see what he's working with. He wants to see the players that he's got. He needs to have the autonomy to say, I don't want this player. I don't want that player. I don't want this player. And the owners and the higher ups, be it Johan Lang and obviously Prachi, we suppose is coming back, but we'll wait and see on that. We haven't had the full, hammer blow conversation that he's going to be. You are going to be starting your summer weeks and probably at least a month behind the rest of the bigger boys. I know some people go, oh, I really like this manager. I really like that manager. You're going to be starting weeks behind. Even if they join tomorrow, you're starting weeks behind. If it takes a couple of weeks, you're starting 6 weeks behind. So there's that conversation to have. So when it comes to players acquisition and players out the door, I would say this as a early on shout, be patient, don't cry. Because I know a lot of Spurs fans cry when Spurs haven't signed 7 players at the start of a transfer window. They are extremely boring human beings to talk to. Have patience because the manager's going to want to see what he's working with. He's going to then want to make a decision, and then that takes time. There's going to be people that, the higher ups are probably going, look, we're going to move him on because we don't want to give him a new contract. He's got 1 year left. Let's see if we can cash him in. We'll give you the money to reinvest. That's a bit different. But, that'll be a small minority of the transfer window. Then you obviously got to work on bringing in coaching teams and things like that. So all those things involved take time. Apparently Trent broke down and cried and kissed the Liverpool badge. You know what I mean? I don't really care about Trent, So all those things take effect. Obviously if Ange's stay, then the summer transfer window starts earlier. It moves earlier. So there is that as well. So we'll sort of see. I think, look, looking on paper, yes, the league situation wasn't great this season. I think if you're one of those people that goes, this many defeats, this many defeats, this many defeats, and says nothing else, you are severely lacking the context of a situation. And you must be fun to talk to at a pub, I tell you that. Good Lord. Was it good enough? No. Is there context? Yes. Okay. Just like you give context towards the Europa League. I can sit here and say it about the Premier League. I can sit here and say it about the EFL Cup or the League Cup, as I would call it, the FA Cup, and obviously the Europa League or UEFA Cup, as I would like to be calling it. Europa League is an ugly name. UEFA Cup sounds so much better. But there's obviously context too. So look, there is going to be a review. You'd expect the review to be taking place probably, I'd say tomorrow. I'd say start it tomorrow. Don't be reactionary. I know, look, as much as anyone may or may not like Daniel Levy, there won't be a reactionary take. There will be time to think about things. You sleep on things overnight. It's like, if someone wants to offer you a job there and then that day, panic. Panic. They sack you there and then that day, panic for that job, for that company. You take a day or two to sleep on things. You make better decisions. And that includes, not just of, managers, that includes of players, that includes of, trainers. That includes all the things, So when we talk about Scott Munn, even, all the way up above Ange, there's going to be a conversation on, Scott here next season. Obviously, Vinay joins this summer, so we'll see on that and how that looks. We look at, obviously, the medical team. That needs a bit of an overhaul, so we'll see on that. Obviously, yes, I said the manager and the coaching staff, the playing staff obviously have that as well. There's a lot of things that go into it. So I think, we'll know a lot more within the week going into maybe the start of June. Call it the start of June. We'll know a lot more by then. Things would have been done. Things would have been sorted. If Ange's to have been staying, there's probably going to be a lot more of a... Has Gyökeres scored 63 goals this season? Good Lord. Fair play to him. I watched a lot of their football at Sporting Lisbon. I didn't think he scored 63 goals this season. I've just seen Fabrizio Romano's tweet. That's mental. Yeah, I think, look, we'll know a lot more probably in the next week or so. I mean, we're 20... Nearly knocked over my squash. 25th of May right now. So a week's time. There you go. A week today is the 1st of June. So we'll know a lot more 1st of June about what we're going to be looking at next season. And so, look, we'll sort of see it. We'll sort of see it. I think there's a lot to happen this summer. A lot of incomings, a lot of outgoings. I guess that's somewhat exciting. You know what I mean? I guess that's somewhat exciting. I also don't think... I just think, they probably brought Parachi back in because they've looked at Johan Lang and gone, Johan, there is a lot of work to do. We need to give you some other humans that are going to, do a little bit of work with you. God, Johan might not ever... I don't think Johan would ever sleep if he had to do all the work himself this summer. With all the incomings and outgoings and things and new contracts and things like that, he'd never sleep. He'd never sleep, would he? Jesus Christ. Yeah, Ange holds the cards, yeah. Andy, read the chat, please. What have I missed? Good win for you, Ryan, today. Good win for you, mate. Actually, I didn't really mind, so good for you, mate. Oh, lots of Ange out in this chat. Now, people are entitled to their opinion, mate. People are entitled to their opinion. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying Ange out, to be honest. Won a bloody trophy. He's won a Europa League. I think people got too much involved in the idea of, oh my God, look at this manager, look at that manager. And it's like, well, that manager couldn't get through the group stages of the Conference League, and that manager used to get knocked out by Eastern European teams that no one's ever even heard of. I would take 17th in the Europa League win over finishing 5th every single day of the week, by the way. I would. Wednesday night alone gave me more happiness than finishing 5th ever has. And if you disagree, you're more than welcome to disagree. I'm not saying that you're wrong. That's just my opinion. You wish you had a concrete answer from the board. Well, again, look, I saw some people get a little bit iffy about that. And I sort of, for me, have the idea of, if there's a big decision to be made and maybe the decision hasn't been made, right? And take it down to your level, right? At your job. Christ. Look, I won't tell you who I used to work for, but I used to work for a bank, okay? And I used to work for a bank. And, obviously I'm a little cog in a big wheel, and all the way up there, they're making decisions. If they haven't made a decision yet, even though I might bank with that bank, I'm not going to know because I haven't made a decision yet. So that's my feeling on that. Also, I think they will wait until the season's over. Let's live in the euphoria of winning a European trophy as well, was probably their mindset. So I don't mind it as much. I think we'll know more this week, which I think is reasonable. I think it would have allowed time for dust to settle, hangovers to clear, bottles of beer to be cleared up, Mickey van der Ven to not have a can of Heineken in his hand where I saw him at the parade. he was having the best time in the world. I I really want. I would love that. I'd be like, hand me a beer. Do you know? Hand me like 7 beers. All right. You'd have seen me look like Romero and like Sonny and like Jono. I'd have looked like them. I'd need more than 7 beers, but I'd look like them for sure. I'd enjoy myself. I'm not that keen on Farioli personally, Caleb. Look, I think there's obviously that connection with Prasci and the Italian side of things, but I'm, if people don't like Ange, they're going to hate Farioli because the guy threw away a league title with 5 games to go, and it wasn't like he had 1 point clear or 2 points clear. He was 9 points clear. I think Spurs fans like lose one game of football. So I'm not saying all, but some lose one game of football and think that people need to be lynched and attacked for it, And it's like losing in sport happens, you know. So even though I think Farioli's not a bad manager, it just feels like that's not after what's happened this season. That wouldn't be the play. Oh, you did it right today, Michael. Xavi would be interesting at Spurs. Again, let's bring the context into Xavi. People go, he's great with youngsters. He's so good with the youth. Look at La Masia. And obviously La Masia is the Barcelona academy system who is one of the greatest academy systems in world football. It's leaps and bounds ahead of ours. And it has consistently churned out unbelievable footballers. Okay. People go, well, Lamine Yamal. It's like, well, also it's Kubasi, it's, centre back, it's Casado in the midfield, it's Pedri and Gavi. I think they came through the system. I'm assuming they did. If they didn't, I don't really care if I'm honest. But, even Ansu Fati that's coming through was supposed to be the next big thing. So they churn out a lot of talent. But he also required Barca to spend big on players. Lewandowski, he's a free. Yeah, but he's not cheap. If you think a free deal is cheap, then you are in for some rude awakenings. Not cheap whatsoever. Keeping Frankie de Jong, who's on crazy wages. It's those things that Xavi also called for. So he's great with youngsters, but if you want him, can you sit there and tell me and say he is going to get the backing that he would truly want? Because the idea is when you bring in a manager, he has the conversation, he presents his project to the owners, right? Whoever it is. And the owners go, well, what I want is I want to be top 4 and I want to win a trophy or at least be competitive and get to a final, right? And then he goes, cool, got it. Right. To get that, I need these things. And if the owner goes, well, you can't have these things, you can have these things. And then the manager will go, cool, right. So you don't want top 4 and a trophy. You want to be 7th and get to a quarter final. You got to fully do it. So, and I think that this isn't a pro Ange argument whatsoever. Actually, I think it's a pro manager argument for a lot of times at Spurs, and it goes back, way before Pochettino. Because I think a lot of fans maybe are just fans from the Pochettino era, which is fine. AVB, they brought in some crap with AVB. Redknapp, they chose to never really truly back Redknapp. I don't think they've truly trusted him. Martin Yole, you name it. I don't think managers would truly ever back properly, even to the day of Ange and everyone in between. So, has Xavi worked in the Prem? No, he hasn't. He hasn't. It does need overhaul, absolutely. Stay humble, eh? I think City won today, to be fair. But it was Barcelona. If he's at Spurs, he'd have a different approach. We'd have to take a different approach. Every club isn't the same. It's like when you treat people in day-to-day life, you treat everyone the same in terms of fairness, but you treat everyone differently for the way they want to be treated. As a manager, in the workplace, you treat everyone the same. Absolutely everyone the same in terms of fairness and with respect. But when it comes to managing people that maybe need more of an arm around the shoulder and positive reinforcement, like consistently, pick-me-ups, you go that way. And for people that just go, what do you need me to do? Just tell me so I can get on with it. You can be direct with those people and they're a bit different, but you treat everyone fairness the same, Um, Premier League is first, Scottish Premiership is 43rd. I still think it's a massive step up. Yeah, I mean, still winning in Europe, even if whatever league you're in is still a phenomenal achievement. Um, the one thing I would say is, I'm going to be real here. I'm going to be real here. If Fabio Paratici comes back to this club and basically just takes control, 100% control again, what the hell? Why? This squad is in such a mess because Fabio Paratici he's opportunistic with some deals, but the guy could not sell a player if his life depended on it. So no, I'm not fully invested on the whole idea of, Paratici, give him control. Hanger, ignore me. No, I wouldn't want Fabio Paratici to have full control. And if he is the guy who is the one that's getting rid of Ange, take yourself and go with him, lads. Take yourself and go with him. I'm not really interested. I like Paratici. He doesn't deserve that much control. Not at all. And people go, but yeah, look at us. We were fifth in the league with Paratici. Okay. If that's what you base being a fan on, is not winning trophies and being the fifth best club in England, then have at it. But do you remember that night we won in the round 32 of the Champions League? Okay. It's nice. I'm great. I'm happy for you if that's what being a fan is for you. I don't look at England getting to the final of World Cups or Euros as this amazing thing, and I'll always remember it. I won't. I'll, in 10 years' time, quite quickly forget those things. We win something, I won't forget it. I mean, look at the way 1966 is talked about, right? Nobody's talking about 2021 or 22. Or it was 2021, wasn't it? Yeah, it was delayed a year. No one's talked about that since. It's been 5 years. How many people talked about last year? It says a lot. I'm just saying, it says a lot. Don't be a prisoner of the moment. His first manager was Redknapp. Good time, mate. That was a good time for you. Xavi's the only manager I consider over Ange from the ones being talked about. No, look, we've talked about, we did a video on Silva and Iriola and Frank, and we didn't really do a Xavi comparison. Frank is the only one of the three of the Prem that I wouldn't mind. Xavi is obviously the sexy manager, isn't it? Because it's, he's one of Barcelona's greatest ever players. He's won things as a manager at Barca, but yeah, I don't know. I might change my mind in a couple of days because I'm allowed to. Xavi can bring Lamine Yamal to Spurs. He likes Spurs, Lamine Yamal. So does Kobe Mainoo. Also, Ousmane Dembele likes Sunderland. I only found that one out the other day. Can Xavi still play? Do you know what? Xavi probably could. It's like when I watch Xabi Alonso in training for when he was at Leverkusen, managing Leverkusen, and you go, his legs might not be there as much, but God, he can still go, can't he? How many times you get to talk about Spurs fans being upset about losing one game of football? There's listening to me, and then there's hearing what you want to hear. And you're over here. Come join me over here from what I was saying. Jesus wept. Really and truly, the originalism of Fabio is wild. He's in as good as we think. He's coming in. He will sack Ange and replace a manager he knows. No, he's not as good as everyone thinks he is. He's not. I'm going to be real with you. He's not. At Juve, they had a ton of success in and around him before he took over. That's obviously down to other people. It wasn't down to him. He's not bad, but the flaws that he does have are very massive flaws that Johan Lang has had to spend the last 2 transfer windows trying to make up for. And that's not in terms of recruitment. That's trying to get people to leave. Tanguy and Ndombele. Do I need to just say that one name? Tanguy and Ndombele. We had to pay him to leave. That's on Fabio Paratici's recruitment. Now, it can be down to management around that time as well, not denying, but that is down to his recruitment. So, yeah, I think I mean, as a YouTuber, as a content creator, Fabio Paraschi is like my wet dream because obviously all he does is he leaks things to the media all the time. He's negotiating 12 deals per position. It's great for me because then I used to create 2 or 3 videos a day on him. Like not last summer, it was summer before he was still somewhat active and Gabbiadini was in there, but like other windows, I was able to create 2 or 3 videos a day because he was just always active. But there needs to be a balance between how Johan does it and how Fabio does it. And that middle ground is sweet. Fabio is obviously very active, good in the Italian league. Johan obviously very good at the recruitment side of, like world-class youngsters. Somewhere in the middle is probably about right. But then like just going to Fabio, right, we need to get rid of players. Can you just go sit over there and play with your phone? We need to go get rid of players. And you go, Johan, let's go. Come on. We need to go get rid of those players. Because somebody decided they want to hold and hoard all these players. Glasner won't leave Palace. Glasner won't leave Palace. Frank doesn't suit Spurs. He suits Spurs for his recruitment and his willingness to, be happy not to spend too much. Lang is disrespecting so much because a fan has a strange obsession with Fabio. It's because Fabio is. Do you know what it is? Do you know what it is? You open Twitter, you open up those gossip columns on BBC Sport, and you see Spurs are in talks with, Spurs are active in, Spurs are monitoring, Spurs are. There's so many of them, and that's all Spurs want. Spurs just want to see that. That's all they want. So when it comes to like Lang, and he doesn't really do that, and he doesn't really leak things to sources and things like that, Spurs fans don't like him. He thinks he's not working because they think, well, because it's loud, there must be loads of work going on. Because there's no noise, there must be no work going on. There's the issue. The cross me is Levy at fault for not paying the wages to retain real quality and have a bigger squad, or is it Ange getting exposed in the Prem for his tactical limitations, or maybe both? Tactical limitations, no. Not at all. I don't think so. I think Europe would show you that, if you think Ange never adjusts, then you just haven't watched football this season. I'm sorry. He's got this many losses in the Premier League. You watched one competition. Can you go have a look at the other competitions we played in? Now, I'll just point you to Europe, to be honest. Go have a look at Europe. Did we not adjust? We played in the final Conte, Nuno, and Mourinho's wet dream of football. They were there watching it, orgasming. They were loving it. That's not tangible. That was adjusting to the situation. Now, people go, this many defeats in the Premier League. Okay. And to be honest, and if you're really upset about say, by all means, be upset about say. That's fine. I don't really care about say because I didn't go into the game thinking we were going to win because the boys have been on an absolute 3-day drinking bender. I wouldn't expect you to turn up to work after a 3-day drinking bender and drop in an absolute 8 out of 10 performance for me. Not going to happen, is it? You'd be sitting there going, mate, I need like a week to recover. These boys obviously don't need a week, but you know what I mean? But in terms of, the situation, I mean, look, if you've got 12 injuries for 4 months of a season, are you expecting to win a ton of games? You've got an 18-year-old centre mid at centre back. You expecting to win a ton of games? No. And is there things that could have been done maybe to help? Yeah, probably. There isn't a lot you can do when you've only got 13 fit first teamers. That's probably not going to help. But is there something you could do on the recruitment side of things? Yeah, maybe don't buy just teenagers and one like actual pro footballer in terms of Dominic Solanke. Maybe, get 2 or 3. That would have helped. Not holding on to Reguilon. I think that's probably a little bit more than just that, to be honest. I think Reguilon was probably not wanting to leave because he didn't get the offers that he thought he was going to get. He must have been devastated, by the way, because we beat the team that he loves the most in the Europa League final. He must have been devastated. But I think there's obviously context to it all. Look, you look at the season before, had loads of those injuries. finished 5th. Nobody wanted Ange out, or if they did, good for you. Attaboy, Chief. But because obviously we've had more defeats in the Premier League this season, and people get upset about it, and that's fine. It is only the people that kind of go, this many losses, this many losses, this much, and they don't actually add anything to that conversation. It's just that conversation. It is just repetitive. It is a bit boring. You know, it's like when I say about winning in Europe. Yeah, we won in Europe, but let me add the context. That's the strongest 11. And the irony is when you play AZ Alkmaar, not even the strongest 11 to us. They were, AZ Alkmaar was the strongest 11. They're barely a fit team. They were just back in body. AZ Alkmaar, 2 Frankfurts, 2 Bodo Glimts, and obviously the final. 6 games. 6 games undefeated. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's obviously a European trophy in there, which is great. And clean sheets in Norway and clean sheets in Germany. Clean sheet in the final. Yeah, that's pretty good. I did a whole video, actually. I did like a 10-minute video on when Spurs have that back four, how good are they? Turns out they're actually a really elite team, nearly elite team. I won't say really elite, but they're a really good side. And that one Chelsea game where both centre backs get injured, and we're 2-0 up in that game before one goes off. So what, 63 or 4% win rate or something like that? That's not too bad. So no. I look, you are more than welcome to be Ange out. You're more than welcome to be. I'm not. He gave me the best day of my footballing life in 4 decades going into that. I think he will be given the benefit of the doubt to go again next season. I think he will be. You just now need to give him some bloody first teamers to go with that, and we'll see what happens. Champions League football as well. Cannot wait for Tuesday and Wednesday nights back in the Champions League. Been out of it for bloody too long. A lot of the games, it was our end game product and finishing. Well, also a lot of things with like the finishing side of things. I always said, like last season, even like when we were getting counter-attacked on, I said, you know, if the attacking fluidity is better, you won't get counter-attacked half as much. Therefore, you're asking defenders to cover a half as much as football, you know. So, you know, I would kill see Xavi take practice. If we could get better quality up front, we could be very different. Well, no, the quality up front. Virgil van Dijk is going to be a massive summer. Well, I hope to join you there, Virgil. And after everything else you say that we're upset about losing one game, football is simply not true. Okay, Chief. Cheers. Okay. Oh, that's good stuff. Look, in all honesty, Champions League football next season, I can't wait for that. I did not give a monkey's how we get in there. You in there? I'll ask Villa. Did Villa get in there? Ask Forest, who have been in the top 4 all season. Did you get in there? No, they sadly didn't. We did. And people might think it's the backdoor entrance. I call it the backdoor entrance, but to be honest, pause, by the way, pause on that. I noticed what I've just said. It doesn't matter. Did you get in there? You know? Good shout, Fabio. Yeah, it wasn't Fabio, was it? Brian Hill was him, though, wasn't it? But look, we got Champions League football. That was probably Daniel Levy's aim of the season to Ange when they sat down before the season and he goes, look, this is what I want of the season. Look, we finished one place off the Champions League football. The irony is, obviously, if that was this season, we would have had Champions League football, but that's really irrelevant. We want Champions League football. And Ange is going, okay, so top 4 would do it, obviously guaranteed. Maybe 5th, we'll see. But obviously, we've got European football, and that gives Champions League football. And that would have been a conversation they'd have had. They both would have known that would have given Champions League football through that entrance as well. And you know, Daniel Levy probably went, it'd be really great to win a trophy as well. As much as we all sit there and go, he doesn't want to win trophies. He obviously does. He's not an idiot. And then you go, okay, Champions League football is the aim. We just got to deliver it. So that was it. And so for me, we're there. We're in the Champions League next season on Tuesday and Wednesday nights, and you know, 8 games of playing some of the Europe's elite, as they call it. And hey, that's where we belong. We deserve to be back there. We should be back there, and we are back there. And that was the aim, and we've done it. And that's all I give a damn about now. I look ahead to next season with some excitement. You know, season 3 is always better than season 2. A famous man once said. And I look forward to it so much. Champions League football is everything. You know, that's where you want to be as a football club. Now, the idea is you've broken the drought of trophy or lack of trophies. Now it's about making it more consistently something that happens. And it doesn't matter if it's as little as a Carabao Cup or it's as massive as winning a Premier League. Consistency. You know, consistency. I think you're right, and hope. We need to reinforce our squad. We are above like Ben score. Basuma can be good for times, but best as a squad player. Let's see our summer transfers. Well, the big thing as well for the summer is you'll get some fans who are clouded by today's game. You get some fans who are clouded by the Europa League run in terms of this player is really good and that player is really good, and you know look at these guys and how they did. Sometimes football runs its course. You know, we talk about Romero, and Romero might look at it and go, "Hey, this is a great time just to leave it here, leave it on an absolute high." I was the starting captain of this club's biggest night in 4 decades. I was the starting captain for it. I was the vice captain by the end of the game because Son was back. And, you know, Bentancur and Basuma's conversation. Obviously, we know Bentancur has interest from Atletico Madrid as well. Basuma, wait and see. The Basuma's got interest. We know he does. Who the hell cares about Dean Huijsen winning Bournemouth Player of the Season? Fabrizio, stop tweeting about Dean Huijsen. He's off to Madrid already. Who cares? Sort of farming for engagement on it. And, you know, obviously we talked about Richie and he has interest from Everton. And, you know, we talk about, you know, with Tell and things like that. There'll be a review this week, I would say. I know Ange's going on holiday, but I assume there's going to be a conversation this week, especially on these players staying or not, you know. We need 5 in and 5 out minimum. What we can't do is there you go. What we can't do is let cloud judgment. You're right, spot on. Conjugated League campaign was those scenes are all out of the championship caliber. If you think third in the Bundesliga is the championship caliber, Roberto, oh my word, that is an all-time L take. Frankfurt is a championship team. That is awful. You do you realize of all the teams that were left in it by the time we came against Frankfurt, right? Top 5 leagues are all in there. Frankfurt was the highest team in all the top 5 leagues in their league. They were third in the Bundesliga behind Bayern Munich with Harry Kane and the world's best striker, Bayer Leverkusen with Xabi Alonso, who's now the Real Madrid manager, and Florian Wirtz, who's going to go for 150 million. That's a championship team. Bloody hell. Then who the hell's coming up from the championship this season to the Premier League? We're screwed. We've got Leeds, we've got Burnley, and we got Sunderland. We're screwed. The Premier League is screwed if teams like that are coming up every single season. Bilbao played Manchester United, fourth in La Liga. Fourth in La Liga. You know, behind Barcelona, Lamine Yamal, and Real Madrid, who's, you know, probably the greatest team ever, and Atletico Madrid, who is trying to buy our captain and our number 6. Man United knocked them out, and people will go, championship side. I mean, Bodo Glimt knocked out Lazio. Lazio, what, 6th in Serie A? The last game in Serie A is actually on right now. Let's have a quick look at the games. Ooh, Juve are losing away to Venezia. So Lazio's 6th. And if Lazio win and Roma don't, then they would be 4th. They'd get Champions League football next season. They're 6th. This is what I mean. It's like, I get people maybe don't like Ange, and I get people maybe don't like some of the players, but there's reaching and then there's reaching. And that is a reach that I'm over here. Championship sides. God, Lord give me strength. Leeds are going on to be a mighty challenge. Yeah. Leeds with Manor Solomon, who's deemed not good enough for Tottenham Hotspur, is going to be playing for Leeds next season. Yikes. People just make things up to suit their beliefs, yeah. I think there's so much more of an argument to say that we lost the game because we had 12 injuries than championship caliber. I mean, bear in mind the championship sides in the Premier League pretty much all come up and get relegated the same season, all three of them. Near enough, minimum two. And there's nothing wrong with providing context, mate. But when I just shattered your context into a million pieces, it's kind of irrelevant when you then go, I'm trying to bring context. Bodo Glimt's got one of the best European home records, right? Knocked out Lazio, knocked out Olympiacos, knocked out. There was a Dutch side. There's a Dutch side. FC20. I'm not saying they're a great team, but they knocked out Lazio. Lazio's a decent team. We were all scared about playing Lazio in the semi-bloody final. Let me turn that around. Don't want to be telling you what the drink is. I might get done. Yeah, there's their brands on the front. I might get done. YouTube algorithm on me. Pitchforks at my door. Oi, you're doing advertising. You never told everyone you're advertising. But like Frankfurt's an unbelievable side. Like I genuinely, Frankfurt's a very good side. You know. Dios míos. Bilbao, Leon, Sociedad. I mean, Sociedad's mid-table in La Liga. The way I look at it is drop those MFing teams into the championship and watch them smoke the championship. And there's no dig at Leeds. It's not a dig at Burnley or Sunderland coming up. Congratulations to the three of them coming up. But my God. We've had truly elite managers. No, it's not Asda. It's not Asda. I promise you it's not. It should be able to give it. It should be able to give it away. There's orange on the back. Just saying. That should give it away. Frank's good. Yeah, Frank is good. But again, it's like, people seem to think we're going to get the world's greatest managers. It's not going to happen, is it? You know what I mean? Al dente, be quiet. be quiet. Be quiet. Oh. Yeah, experience is now needed. Who said Sainsbury's? Who said that? Who said that? Europa win sweeps 22 defeats and 10 of those at home under the carpet. Signing Werner twice and thinking, keep and tell, baffling. Morton Barley is in every single transfer negotiation. I like it. I'll be contacting you for all of my leads going forward, because obviously if you're in the room, you know how those deals go down. I like it. I like it. Mate, what a vibe. What a vibe this season, eh? What a bloody vibe. You can just say not sponsored. I know not sponsored. I just don't want to say not sponsored. There are other bottle of beverages available. Absolutely. But this one, 8 calories. Top to bottom, 8 calories. So good for weight loss. Bubbles, bloat you. Makes you not want to eat as much maybe at that time. 8 calories. Diet hack on a Sunday night from me. You're welcome. That's why my jaw has popped through back. This is why this thing's popped back through again. I drink Evian water 3 liters a day. Good on you, mate. People need to drink more water. People need to drink more water. I really don't know why Elon Musk has appeared more and more on my timeline again. But yeah. Hold on, Andy. Let me write that fact down. Yeah, you're welcome, Chief. Hey. Little diet hack before I leave. You get a 2-litre bottle of a Pepsi Max or a Diet Coke or a Coke Zero. Other bottles apply, but this is a diet hack. I think there's like 4 calories in a whole bottle. It's not healthy for you. It's not like long-term healthy, but if you want to just tie yourself over to a meal, glass of that, that'll fill you up. The gases and the bubbles, it fills you up. Also, bit of a sweet tooth, gets in there. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. You're welcome. Who will we need to sign, Andy, in the transfer window? I had the discussion yesterday, actually. And I said, look, it depends on value. Obviously, we did a video earlier talking about the option on Tell, and apparently the money's there to buy Tell, and it doesn't take away from this summer window. I think if you need ready to go players like Eze is a ready to go guy. You need him. A midfielder for sure, and a defender. You need at least 3. You need at least 3, right? It's hard on the midfield because I think if you want a top 6, it's going to cost a big amount of money. And will they do that? Unlikely. So then you're acquiring the idea that the data system can find you one, right? Brighton have done it through a few different players. Don't know. We'll see on that one. Eze would still be one of those guys that I'd want. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to say really because, yeah, it's just hard to say. Do I think Vuskovic comes in and makes a significant... Oh, he's not going to make significant, no. Could he make an impact? Yes. I feel like significant is a bit of a leap, thinking he's going to have like a Mickey van der Ven impact. I think that might be just a stretch too far, but could he have an impact? I think so. I think Big Kev Danso could have an impact next season as well, actually, if you think about it. Like, think of Big Kev Danso and how he sort of looks, even with lesser players or rotation around him. I think so. I think so. He could have an impact. Yeah, absolutely. I've liked what I've seen from Big Kev Danso. I just think maybe a pre-season, let him have some time to build and grow. I think, yeah, he could play a player. I think he's solid. I think that was a good bit of business. I was a bit unsure at first. I was a bit like, is he quick enough to play Ange ball? And the issue is he quick enough to play Ange ball? We all sit there and go, Mickey van der Ven. And it's like, well, that's an outlier. Push him to the side. Find me someone else in world football at that sort of speed as a centre-back. Kusanov might have been that kind of guy, but Kusanov seems to not play for City anymore. Don't know what's happened there. Danso, I think Danso can be good, yeah. I love a bit of Danso. We need left back, playmaker, midfield, striker, maybe left foot centre back. 1, 2, 3. Oh, playmaker in the midfield. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Left back, playmaker in the midfield, striker, maybe left foot centre back. It depends on how they see Tell. I think a right winger though could be on the agenda. Maybe not as high up because you might view Kulusevski as a bit more there from time to time, but I think that could be on the agenda still. Thoughts on Cherky? Like him, gets you off your seat, super talented. But when people talk about Garnacho and his attitude issues, is there an attitude conversation to have around Cherky? Because apparently that's been touted. I don't know anything about it. I'm just saying, there's that conversation. Roma are winning. So I'm just having a look at the Serie A football. Roma are winning. So now Roma would get top 4 in Serie A. So 5th is Europa League in Serie A because they didn't get the extra spot. And that would be Juventus. Juventus have drawn 16 games this season. My God. For the amount of games they've lost, they should be further up the table fighting with Inter and Napoli. They should be. Although losing away to Venezia is probably not going to help, is it? Let's be real. Yikes. They need it. What are the chances? Captain America to Tottenham. Oh, God, no. No. Leave him at Milan. Leave him there. What a chance of us winning the UEFA Super Cup, and what does that trophy mean to us? Well, look, the UEFA Super Cup is still a good trophy. It is. I think with look, winning the Super Cup, you're in a final. It's a one-off game. Anyone can win that. We've seen Palace beat Manchester City in FA Cup final this year. And that's not a dig at Palace saying they're a bad team. I'm just saying, on paper, you'd expected City to win that. Now, football's not played on paper, which is the argument to that. So, it really depends. It depends on a lot of things that go into that game. But a final, who wants it most? And I think in the Europa League final, we knew United weren't a great team in terms of creating chances, and we wanted it more. And I think that played its part. And I think that will play its part again in the UEFA Super Cup. So we'll see. Obviously, it's PSG or Inter. PSG looked very good last night in the French Cup final. If I'm Inter watching that, I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, they're a team and a half. Also saw that report that Desiree Doué nearly signed for us this summer. That still hurts. That still hurts. Ugh. All right. Performante footballer. I'm not sure I'd say name, Chief. Cherky, Sonny Howard. Cherky is good, but lazy. Apparently, he won't press. I'm sure Tel Noda have a decent insight on Cherky's personality. He's in terms of his ability, it's there, isn't it? But I don't know. It feels like Liverpool, and I don't know why it feels like Liverpool. Maybe because Wirtz, I'm thinking he's similar to Wirtz in that regard. Not wait to someone to go, he's actually a very different player to Wirtz. Wirtz plays in this false 8.75 position. It's like, shut up, you weirdo. Talk about players get a few seats, He's not expensive, so, well, on paper he's not. We don't know the true finite details of the deal, so we'll see. I've just kept my light. That better stand up and stay up. Rodrigo Spurs, no, definitely not. 45 for Stiller. Obviously, German Cup last night. Stuttgart won that. It's congratulations to them. Good player. Any chance in Buemo? Yes, there is definitely. Spurs will be lurking around in Buemo this summer. Now, let me bring in the Premier League table. So the top 5 get into the Champions League this season, which is Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester City, Chelsea, and Newcastle. Newcastle will be lurking around in Buemo for sure. For sure. Chelsea won't. City won't. Arsenal shouldn't. Actually, Arsenal, it might not be a bad idea. Give Saka the ability to not play Saka 3,000 games a week as well. That would give him a better chance. Liverpool. Yeah, he would work at Liverpool. Massively. But, Villa wanted him. Villa now. Look, I think Villa are in for a really fascinating summer window this summer because they might have to. I'm not saying they have to sell because, of not getting Champions League football, but it just feels like due to the volume of revenue and the wages to those revenue, it's going to be interesting summer this summer for them. Obviously, Martinez. Apparently, Emery says Martinez is not leaving, but Martinez people seem to think he is. Rashford, we'll see what they do with Rashford. Asensio, I assume they'll take on Asensio permanently. Main thing is now to get players in as soon as possible. We need to be able to rotate the squad without a drop in quality. What has killed our league form was injuries. Yeah, injuries and suspensions killed it. Absolutely. Getting him in early is going to be massive. We've always talked about it, though, and it's always something that they've just not done well at Spurs, and they need to do it well from now on. I don't know that Brentford left wing name, but he's so good on the ball. I mean, and Buemo's their right wing, so if you're talking about him, maybe. But yeah, it could be Shard. Or Shardy. Don't know what I was about to break out in song there. YouTube would have had me for that. Angie, do you think Ange is a big draw for summer recruitment? Ange is. Ange has been massive for recruitment of a lot of our players. Madison joined because of Ange. You know, Bergval joined because of Ange. Gray, Tell. Pretty much most of the players have joined because of Ange, thinking about it. Mickey van der Ven. Yeah, Ange will be massive. Ange is huge for recruitment, you know. I think he sells players better than higher ups do because they sell players on a 5-year window. He sells them on how I'm going to use you this season. And they go, great. I'm thinking about this season. I'm not thinking about 5 years, you know. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know enough about Villa's financial fair play situation, but they could be in trouble, yeah. What do I think about Sandenberg? Solid player. Juventus are now 2-1 up. They scored 2 in 6 minutes. Okay, that's a change. That would have them in the top 4 now. Lazio and 0-0, I believe. Yeah, they're still 0-0. And Roma are still winning, I think. Roma's still winning. Yeah, Roma's still winning. Paredes penalty. There you go. Lewis Potter. You could be Lewis Potter. Yeah, could be. Could be. But we shall see. Look, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I've been live for an hour and 6 minutes. I want to go off and watch some Serie A football. I don't often do it, but with so much on right now, I'm going to put them on different screens. I'm going to watch them all at once. So look, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you all so much for joining me this evening. Thank you all so much for your support this season. Obviously, it's been a fantastic season for me as a content creator. I've really enjoyed speaking to all of you. So thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back tomorrow to talk a lot more about Spurs. And I assume this week we're in for a very interesting week with the fallout. Look after yourselves, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evenings, mornings, afternoons, wherever you are in the world. And I'll speak to you all tomorrow to talk a lot more about Tottenham. Take care, everyone. Peace.